Okay, so what we're going to take a look at today is one of the Yeshiva courses. This is a bridge course relative to database fundamentals, but all of the courses will have a similar look and feel, though there's going to be some unique aspects. When you first come into your dashboard, now you won't have as many courses as I have here because I'm helping design a bunch of these courses, but the course that you would be taking would sit here as a tile. So for example, if we go into the bridge course about SQL programming or database fundamentals, this is where you would be brought to. So this is sort of the landing page of the course. From here, we can go into the course orientation, or if you've already gone through the course orientation, you could jump directly into the module. So this becomes sort of a table of contents type of area. If we jump into the course orientation, and this is going to be pretty typical of what you're going to experience. So what we want to do is on the first page of any module, including an orientation module, it's going to have a similar structure. So typically there's going to be a short video introduction, and I'll play just a quick snippet of this. Okay, so you get the idea of this. In the course introduction, he's introducing the whole course and some of the topics and things to come. But there would be a similar video introduction to get you oriented to each particular module. From there, we're going to talk about what it is that you're going to learn in the particular modules. So, for example, these are the objectives relative to this overall course. And then it'll also outline here what the required materials are. You'll see, various sort of visual enhancements throughout the course in terms of, quotes and some of the personalities that are sort of relevant to the particular space. So if I keep moving forward here, and so this, like I said, we do orientation modules. So again, we're not just going to throw you into the heat of the battle of a course. You need to get set up. And what does that mean? Well, you need to understand, sort of the overview of the course and make sure you can get any questions that you have resolved. But we also need to get to know your instructor, and you want to be able to get to know your fellow students. So again, this is a typical approach that will lay out the to-dos. So in here, we want you to review syllabus schedule, resolve questions, and then get to know instructors. And so there would be a syllabus that you could take a look at. There's also a schedule. These are both things that you can download. Any particular course will highlight some of the specifics that are unique to a particular course. So in this happens to be a SQL programming course. There's an activity called a write, run, and reply. So there'll be explanation of that. And again, what we're trying to do is prepare you such that nothing should come as a surprise. The Yeshiva courses feature asynchronous courses. Most of the courses will feature a weekly virtual get-together. And typically these are going to be more than just, oh, these are online office hours. These might be, might bring in some guest speakers, might have some group activities, might be some sort of just-in-time lectures or presentations if there's something that's, being confusing. So again, general model is asynchronous, but there are weekly opportunities to meet up with your fellow students and your instructor and be able to get some of your questions answered. There's always forums throughout the course, usually typical to each individual module, such that you can post questions. What we really want to do is get in the habit of posting questions, because guess what? If you have a question, there's a good chance that somebody else has the same question and might benefit from the answer. Or it may be that you can come in here and somebody's already asked a question and you can save yourself a further time. It's very important to establish connection and relationship with your instructors. So again, before we ever ask you to learn anything from them, we want to introduce them. We do that through some short videos where they'll respond to a series of questions. So in this particular one, if I can jump, Tom introduces himself. He talks about some of the things that he's passionate about. He'll talk about how he got into teaching and some of his proudest professional accomplishments, so that when you finish this, hopefully you understand more than just, oh, okay, I understand Tom's accomplishments and sort of credibility for teaching this course, but also, oh, I have a good sense of who Tom is, and I would feel comfortable approaching Tom with questions that I might have. So that gets you a chance to meet your instructor, And then we provide opportunities for you also to get to know your fellow students. Because again, this may be an asynchronous course, but there still may be opportunities and occasions where you're working together in a group or doing other types of activities. And again, we're not just going to throw you and say, hey, go work with these people who you have no idea who they are. If we're going to do group work, we'll provide opportunities throughout the course that you get to know each other, beginning with something like this. And this is a typical sort of ice-breaking forum where, yes, we'll ask you to introduce yourself and some basic things about you. But there's always going to be sort of a unique element to an icebreaker. So here, this is a course about databases. There's a question here about if you could get your hands on any database in the world, what would it be and why, right? So you start to get a little bit of insight into people. And this is a video, because one of the great things if you want to get to know people is you can read about them, but when you get to see them and hear them, it creates much more sense of connection. So we haven't started this one off yet, but this would be sort of a series of video responses, and you could all see each other and respond to one another. So again, this is all happening in a introductory module before we ever get into the course. Throughout the course, you'll see that we're seeking to get feedback from you about your experiences, both, hey, this was great, and not so sure about this. So we're always asking for your input. And this gives you a chance to, shape the course for future learners as well. All right, so that's all the orientation modules. So that, again, the purpose of that is to get you ready and prepared. And then you would move into the actual module content. And this, while the content obviously is going to look a little different, the format should start to look familiar. So how we're kicking off a course here is, we get an introduction, overview of what you're going to learn. This is sort of a table of contents page so that you can jump from any of these directly to activities later on. We lay out what your resources are, but we're not just going to give you a resource and say, hey, go read chapter 5 and 6. When we actually get into this information, we're going to tell you, all right, this is specifically why you're looking at this and what you should be trying to get out of it. Each week, we'll set up what's specifically going on in the virtual meetup that week. Again, if you can't make the virtual meetup, they're all recorded, and you can follow that up later on. Here, you're going to do some installation because this is a particular course. You verify what you're installing. There's a database in this particular course. So you can see how we break this down sort of step by step. And then we would move into content. So again, I told you about when you hit content, we set you up. We talk about what are the things that you're looking for, what are the topics. This way your brain is primed so that as you move into it, you start to make those connections and take away. So there'll be resources, which will be readings, videos, podcasts, whatever the case might be. They tend to be interspersed with short quizzes. And the point here is this is not supposed to be high stakes testing. This is really just to reinforce what it is that you just looked at before you move on and try to apply it. I'm showing you sort of a page by page flow, which is how a lot of students move through a course. There's also this other view, which is sort of your module view. And so this corresponds to all the sort of course pages that I was moving through. And so at any point, you can move to this view and jump through this. So here, if I wanted to skip over to, say, the end of a module. And so again, we typically have some sort of culminating project or activity for each module. So if I show you the preview on this one, in this particular course, it's using something called the Chinook Database, which is it's a made-up database. But what we've done is had a little fun with this and turned Chinook into a real company, complete with your own. We designed a logo and business card. And so we put you in a scenario, which is going to be a common situation. And so here you're working as an analyst for this corporation, and you have a specific challenge and tasks, and there are things that you have to do. And so, again, what we're trying to get out here in these courses is we want to present practical type challenges that you would encounter in real life. And these will also lend themselves to, eventually, portfolio type projects, because ultimately what we're looking for is for you to come out of these courses and these programs, not just with a degree, but with a tangible expression of what it is that you've learned, a portfolio that you could then take to an employer and say, hey, look, this is what I've done, this is what I can do. Don't just take my word for it. Here's sort of tangible proof. So this was Flipgrid, which is sort of a video discussion tool. So any sort of technology we like to make, continued use throughout the course. So one of the things we like to do is at the end of a module say, hey, okay, what do you take away from this? And here we're not looking for you to just play back what it is that we thought was important. We want to know, hey, what did you learn? And maybe here it was that, wow, I know nothing about SQL programming. I'm really glad I'm taking this course. Or, oh, hey, I realized that I know more than I thought because most of this module was a review. It's just an opportunity to sort of play back what it is that you learned, get some quick, easy presentation experience, and then move on. Every module, we then wrap things up. Some instructors will do short videos, others will just do sort of text descriptions. But this will sum up what it is you learned and help you make the connections for what's going to come next. And then, we would move on to the next module. Of course, we would ask you for feedback. And this is just where all the questions sit for any particular module. And then, the process moves forward. You move on to the next module, building on what you've learned. But in general, our goal in designing courses is that we think an online course should look and feel, it should be the same experience that you have on a really good website. That we find that, oftentimes people are disappointed because what the ease of use and the colors and the whole aesthetic experience when you get to an online course often really falters in comparison to what we're used to looking at on the web. So our goal here is to design things that are easy to look at, easier to process, that track through, that have a logic, ongoing thread, and to maximize and create the most interesting and effective learning experience that we can. So that's a quick overview of a lot of the things. I think we've covered most of this. This is just another way to navigate a course. And again, this is just your, there's a menu associated with Canvas as well. But I think you'll find Canvas, like I said, to be pretty intuitive. There's a whole module that we do typically before you get in. We also make it available here where, if you need some help, if you're new to LMSs, there's a variety of videos and tutorials that you can go through to learn more about Canvas. But, the reality is for most people, once they get in about 15 minutes and start playing with it, it's intuitive enough that it all sort of makes sense and, comes second nature. But this idea of these additional tutorial ideas for you, if you need them, are available in Canvas as well. So that's our basic overview of the learner experience in Canvas.